Let's dive into one of television's most iconic, and at times controversial, sitcoms, Diff'rent Strokes. Debuting in 1978, this beloved show about a wealthy white widower who adopts two black brothers from Harlem tackled social issues, pioneered very special episodes, and gave us one of the most legendary catchphrases of all time. But behind the laughter, fame, and comedic lines lay a roller coaster of personal challenges for the cast. In this deep dive, you'll discover 30 fascinating insights that go beyond the typical trivia. These aren't just random tidbits. They're a tapestry of behind-the-scenes moments, creative decisions, and significant cultural footprints left by a show that dared to address tough topics while still making America laugh. Whether you're a longtime fan or brand new to the Drummond household, these details will show you that Whatchoo Talkin' Bout is only the tip of the iceberg. Now, settle in for a fresh, modern, and creative exploration of Diff'rent Strokes, the show that taught us how different folks really do experience the world in their own unique ways. The show as a vehicle for Coleman and Bain. Many sitcoms begin as speculative projects, but Diff'rent Strokes was custom-built to feature Gary Coleman and Conrad Bain at its core. Producer Norman Lear, renowned for groundbreaking hits like All in the Family and Maude, had already witnessed Conrad Bain's comedic timing and charming presence on Maude. Gary Coleman, meanwhile, was a charismatic child actor who'd been wowing audiences in commercials and in ill-fated Little Rascals pilots. Norman Lear saw the potential in creating a show around these two, believing their chemistry could fuel an entire sitcom. And boy, was he right. The synergy between Coleman's wisecracking Arnold and Bain's patient, fatherly Mr. Drummond became the heart of the show's success. This deliberate star vehicle approach goes to show how powerful it can be when creators spot talent and shape a narrative to let that talent truly shine. Norman Lear's vision. If you dig a little deeper into TV history, you'll see that Norman Lear had a knack for pushing boundaries. With Diff'rent Strokes, Lear wanted to champion a story that brought a blend of comedic warmth and topical boldness into American homes. One of the lesser-known aspects is how Lear was already impressed by Gary Coleman's comedic instincts through various attempts to reboot The Little Rascals. Coleman's pint-sized presence, his unique comedic timing, and his bright persona sealed the deal. Pairing Coleman with Conrad Bain, an actor widely recognized as the genial neighbor type, wasn't happenstance. It was part of Lear's mission to strike that perfect balance between comedic mischief and paternal gravitas. He envisioned a show that wasn't just a family sitcom, but a reflection of American social changes, where race and wealth disparities could be touched upon in a way both educational and entertaining. That vision turned out to be revolutionary in its own right, winning fans from all walks of life. Originally titled 45 Minutes from Harlem. Titles matter, especially for a show that aims to connect with broad audiences. One of the earliest working titles for Diff'rent Strokes was 45 Minutes from Harlem, referencing Arnold and Willis's journey from a neighborhood of fewer resources to the luxurious Park Avenue world of Philip Drummond. But the producers soon realized that this might pigeonhole the premise and sound a bit too on the nose. They wanted something more catchy, more universal, and less strictly geographic. Eventually, the phrase "different strokes for different folks," popularized by Muhammad Ali, became the source of inspiration for the show's final title. It didn't just have a ring to it, it succinctly captured the essence of the story. People with different backgrounds finding unity as a family. Todd Bridges cast on the spot. Sometimes casting can be a grueling, months-long process. In Todd Bridges's case, it was almost instantaneous. Known for his appearances on the sitcom Fish and various commercials, Bridges had already shown a knack for connecting with audiences. Producers sensed he was the perfect fit for the role of Willis Jackson, the protective older brother to Gary Coleman's Arnold. Reportedly, they didn't even bother with an official audition. They were that certain Todd Bridges had the right energy, both comedic and dramatic, to help anchor the show. His youthful charisma and smooth comedic delivery set the stage for one of TV's most memorable sibling duos, Dana Plato's Gong Show discovery. Dana Plato, who played Kimberly Drummond, was by no means a household name before Diff'rent Strokes. Her big break came in an unconventional manner. She was noticed by producer Al Burton while auditioning for a cheerleader spot on The Gong Show. Talk about right place, right time. She embodied the spirited energy that the producers felt would mesh with the rest of the cast. Once Plato joined, she gave the Drummond household that quintessential teenage perspective, one that was simultaneously sweet, curious, and, in later seasons, rebellious. This background highlight reminds us that sometimes destiny calls in the strangest of ways, and you never know who might be watching or when your big break might come. What you talkin' about, Willis? It's hard to think of Diff'rent Strokes without hearing Gary Coleman's iconic catchphrase echoing in our heads. Originally scripted in a more standard form, "What are you talking about, Willis?" Coleman decided to compress it, giving it that bouncy, streetwise spark that made it a cultural phenomenon. The line not only became Arnold's signature phrase, but also a hallmark of late 70s and early 80s pop culture. In 2005, it even earned a spot in TV Guide's Top 20 TV Catchphrases list. Although Gary Coleman would later grow weary of it, overshadowing his actual acting abilities, there's no denying that one short, sassy question brought countless laughs and remains a comedic time capsule of the era. Coleman's catchphrase, fatigue. As much as viewers adored hearing little Arnold utter, "What you talkin' about, Willis?" the young star himself had a complicated relationship with the catchphrase. Gary Coleman, determined to show he was more than just a quip machine, once asked the show's producers to retire the line. He felt it limited the audience's view of his actual range and overshadowed the heartfelt or serious moments he was capable of delivering. Producers, wary of removing such a beloved element, largely held firm. They understood fans came to expect it in virtually every episode. This tug-of-war highlights the double-edged sword of iconic lines. They can elevate you to stardom, but can also trap you in a comedic box. Gary Coleman's health struggles. Gary Coleman's stature, he never grew taller than 4 feet 8 inches, wasn't just a random quirk. He was born with a congenital kidney disease that stunted his growth and required extraordinary medical attention, including 2 transplants, one in 1973 and another in 1984. Daily dialysis became a part of his life by the mid-1980s, an intense regimen for any child actor. The show took a bold step by addressing Arnold's health in one episode, blending fiction with Coleman's reality. These references not only humanized Arnold, but also showcased the show's willingness to engage with real-world health struggles. Off-camera, Coleman's parents, who managed him, fought for higher pay to help offset his mounting medical bills, which became a major point of tension over the years. Pioneer of very special episodes. Very special episodes might be a trope in modern TV, but Diff'rent Strokes was one of the earliest sitcoms to master them. The producers recognized the potential to do more than just make people laugh. They could use the show as a platform to educate and spark conversation about pressing social issues. Topics ranged from child molestation to bulimia, epilepsy, alcoholism, and even the pitfalls of hitchhiking. This move wasn't merely a ratings ploy, it was a statement. The show believed audiences, including younger viewers, could handle serious subjects, provided there was a delicate mix of empathy, dramatic tension, and comedic relief. The approach was high risk. Some viewers complained it was too real for a sitcom. But the ratings soared, and the show left behind a legacy as a pioneer in social commentary on primetime television. The child molestation episode, The Bicycle Man. One of the most memorable, very special episodes from Diff'rent Strokes was The Bicycle Man, in which Gordon Jump played a predator running a bicycle shop who tries to befriend Arnold and Dudley. At the time, 1983, sitcoms rarely, if ever, broached the subject of child sexual abuse. That the storyline made it to air was a testament to the producer's determination to tackle taboo topics head-on. While it undoubtedly shocked audiences, some affiliates even considered pulling it, the episode earned critical praise for raising awareness about a serious issue and encouraging families to talk more openly about safety and boundaries. It was a pivotal moment in TV history, proving that sitcoms could carry profound, life-saving messages. Muhammad Ali's guest appearance. In a delightful bit of synergy, boxing legend Muhammad Ali made a cameo in the 1979 episode Arnold's Hero. Besides being one of the greatest athletes of all time, Ali popularized the phrase, "different strokes for different folks," which ultimately inspired the show's title. His appearance was not just a ratings booster, it was also a symbolic passing of the torch. Here was a cultural icon bridging the gap between sports, social commentary, and family entertainment. For audiences, seeing Ali interact with little Arnold was pure TV magic, reinforcing the show's message that people of all backgrounds could find common ground, even if you were a world champion stepping into a sitcom set. Coleman's salary battles. Gary Coleman was more than just a comedic centerpiece. He quickly became a breakout star, and that rapid ascent led to some tense financial disputes. Early on, he earned a modest $1,800 per episode, quite low considering the show's success and the revenue he was generating. His parents, who also served as his managers, negotiated raises until he reached $30,000 and eventually $70,000 per episode, making him one of the highest-paid comedic actors on NBC at the time. But bigger paychecks didn't necessarily mean smooth sailing. Coleman's medical expenses and internal family conflicts contributed to a swirl of legal and financial challenges that would follow him well beyond his teenage years. It's a sobering reminder that early fame can become a double-edged sword when money enters the equation. His Season 4 absence. Just how important was Gary Coleman to Diff'rent Strokes? Enough that his absence in the first 4 episodes of Season 4, 1981, was a huge deal. That absence stemmed from a pay dispute. Coleman and his parents demanded the producers meet their salary demands or risk losing the show's biggest star. To keep the storyline coherent, the show explained Arnold was away in the countryside for some rest. Eventually, the producers caved, because they knew Diff'rent Strokes simply didn't work without Arnold. This behind-the-scenes standoff underscores how pivotal Coleman's presence was and how integral his character had become to the sitcom's DNA. Ku Klux Klan threats. At first glance, Diff'rent Strokes seems like a wholesome family sitcom, but the premise of a mixed-race family and a wealthy white father caring for 2 black sons, brought out some of the ugliest elements in society. Conrad Bain and Todd Bridges reportedly received threatening letters sealed by a Ku Klux Klan Grand Dragon. This appalling response highlighted the fact that, despite the show's comedic nature and mainstream success, it was also pushing against entrenched racial prejudice. These threats did not deter the producers from continuing to tell heartfelt, inclusive stories. If anything, it reminded the team that racial themes in America weren't just narrative choices. They were real issues that impacted the lives of both audience and cast. Mixed-race family groundbreaker. While there had been other TV programs featuring black and white characters, a prime-time sitcom centered on a kindly white millionaire raising two black kids was a big statement in the late 70s. Some critics argued it veered into white savior territory, while others hailed it as a progressive depiction of racial harmony. Either way, it was a narrative that caused discussions around dinner tables across the country. The show's portrayal of love transcending racial lines was, for many viewers, inspirational. Although it sometimes glossed over deeper systemic issues, the fact that Diff'rent Strokes introduced so many families to the notion of adoption and cross-cultural understanding remains a major part of its legacy. The facts of life. Spin-off. Crossovers and spin-offs are the lifeblood of a thriving TV universe, and Diff'rent Strokes did its part by birthing the facts of life. Charlotte Ray's character, Mrs. Edna Garrett, began as the Drummonds' beloved housekeeper. However, halfway through Season 2, she heads to Kimberly Drummond's private school as a house mother, setting the stage for an all-new show. While many spin-offs fizzle quickly, The Facts of Life ran from 1979 to 1988, covering topics from teenage crushes to alcoholism. That success not only underscores Charlotte Ray's magnetism, but also the original show's strong foundation. If Diff'rent Strokes hadn't worked its magic, we might never have met Blair, Joe, Tootie, and Natalie, multiple housekeepers. Once Mrs. Garrett left, Diff'rent Strokes had to fill that housekeeping void. Enter Nedra Voles as Adelaide Brubaker in Seasons 2 through 4, and Mary Jo Catlett as Pearl Gallagher in Seasons 5 through 8. Each housekeeper brought a different comedic flair, reflecting changing sitcom trends. Adelaide was the sweet grandmotherly figure who connected with Arnold in a gentle way, while Pearl had more of a comedic spark, pairing wit with maternal concern. This revolving door of housekeepers could have been disruptive to viewers, but it ended up adding layers of humor and new interpersonal dynamics within the Drummond household. The changes also illustrated how the show could roll with casting updates while maintaining its core charm. Coleman, the child prodigy. Gary Coleman wasn't just a kid reading scripts, he was reading proficiently by age 3. Some casting directors initially thought he was a little person with adult-level wit rather than an actual child. His advanced reading skills and comedic instincts allowed him to punch up lines in ways that most child actors never could. That intellectual maturity also meant he grasped the nuances of comedic timing far better than many of his peers. It was another piece of the puzzle that convinced Norman Lear and NBC that Coleman wasn't just cute. He was a real talent with the potential to carry a show. And carry it he did, delivering iconic zingers and emotional performances that cemented him as a small wonder. The failed Little Rascals pilot connection. Before Diff'rent Strokes, Norman Lear tried to reboot The Little Rascals in 1977 with 2 different pilots. Gary Coleman was tapped to play Stymie in that project, which ultimately never took off. However, despite the disappointment, NBC president Fred Silverman found Coleman's performance so impressive that he kept him top of mind for future projects. Sometimes canceled pilots are stepping stones that lead to bigger breaks. Coleman's comedic spark in those short segments proved he was a star waiting for the right vehicle. And when Diff'rent Strokes came knocking, it was the perfect opportunity for all parties involved. The network switch. After 7 successful seasons, NBC decided to cancel Diff'rent Strokes in 1985 due to declining ratings. But ABC was not ready to let the Drummond family go and picked it up for an 8th season, shifting it to a Friday night slot. The show didn't have the same traction in its new time slot, but it still gave fans one more season of Arnold's antics and Willis's heart. Network switches can be risky as they disrupt audiences' viewing habits, but it also speaks to the show's popularity that another major network was willing to invest in it. Though season 8 would be the last, it remains part of a testament to how beloved the Drummond clan had become. Janet Jackson's role. Before she was a global pop superstar, Janet Jackson dabbled in acting roles, including an extended guest stint on Diff'rent Strokes as Willis's girlfriend, Charlene Dupre, in seasons 3 to 4. At the time, her presence was mostly recognized by fans of the Jackson family dynasty, but she was not yet the solo sensation that would dominate pop charts in the coming decade. Her episodes offered a look at her early acting chops, and she even sang on the show. For longtime fans of Janet, it's fascinating to see her youthful beginnings and realize that we were witnessing the formation of a legend about to conquer the music world. Rosalind Chow's two characters. If you watch Diff'rent Strokes in reruns or catch it streaming, you might do a double take when Rosalind Chow appears. She played Miss Chung in one season 4 episode called Kathy, and she also portrayed a different role in the season 3 backdoor pilot Almost American. Though that pilot wasn't picked up, it's a fun piece of trivia for fans who love spotting the same actor doing double duty. Chow would go on to appear in several hit shows, including Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, showcasing her versatility beyond her fleeting visits to the Drummond household. A Fresh Prince finale cameo. By 1996, Diff'rent Strokes had been off the air for a decade, but its legacy was far from forgotten. In the finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Gary Coleman and Conrad Bain reprised their roles of Arnold Jackson and Philip Drummond. They popped in to tour the Banks mansion right as the Banks family was moving out. Seeing Arnold, as a grown man, repeat, "Whatchoo talkin' bout?" was a nostalgic trip that brought fans back to the late 70s and early 80s. It was a reminder of how some catchphrases can transcend their eras and still draw a crowd reaction, underscoring just how iconic Diff'rent Strokes was. Cameo in Amazing Stories. Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories was a mid-1880s anthology series featuring all sorts of supernatural or fantastical storylines. One episode, Remote Control Man, 1985, featured Gary Coleman as Arnold Jackson in a cameo. The plot revolved around a man whose universal remote starts turning his real life into various TV shows. Arnold Jackson popping up was a meta-joke, as if to say, you can't get away from Diff'rent Strokes, even in a reality-bending sci-fi scenario. It underscored how thoroughly embedded in pop culture Arnold Jackson had become. Even Spielberg's creative mind found a place for a sitcom cameo in a whimsical fantasy setting. Alan Thicke's theme song creation. Alan Thicke might be best known for playing Dr. Jason Seaver on Growing Pains, but he also dabbled in theme song composition. Thicke co-wrote and sang the Diff'rent Strokes theme song alongside Gloria Loring, who was Thicke's wife at the time. This upbeat, catchy tune set the tone for the show's blend of optimism and comedic flair. In the pantheon of classic TV theme songs, Diff'rent Strokes remains instantly recognizable, reminding listeners that sometimes a short jingle can become as iconic as the show's characters. The theme's lyrics captured the premise of different worlds colliding, and that it's love and family that really make a home. Dana Plato's personal struggles. Dana Plato's life was a whirlwind of success and tragedy. Written out of the show in 1984 due to her pregnancy, she returned as a recurring guest, but her personal life took a dark turn, marked by substance abuse, financial hardship, and legal troubles, including an infamous armed robbery of a video store. In 1999, she died of an overdose, which was later ruled a suicide. This tragic trajectory has often overshadowed the memory of her sweet teenage presence as Kimberly Drummond. But it's also a stark reminder of the pitfalls of child stardom and how a supportive structure outside of Hollywood's spotlight can make all the difference. Todd Bridges' ongoing challenges. Todd Bridges, who brought Willis Jackson to life, faced demons of his own. As Diff'rent Strokes ended, he struggled with drug addiction and a string of legal troubles. However, one bright spot was his relationship with Conrad Bain, who remained a paternal figure for Bridges off camera. Bain would visit him in jail and rehab, offering emotional support when Todd arguably needed it most. Over time, Todd Bridges was able to turn his life around, crediting the mentorship of people like Bain. His story, though marked by controversy, stands as proof that recovery and redemption are possible, even if you once topped the TV ratings but fell victim to the pitfalls of fame. Gary Coleman's financial woes. Despite earning hefty paychecks per episode, Gary Coleman's financial story didn't have a fairy tale ending. In 1989, he famously sued his parents for mismanagement of his earnings, eventually winning a $1.3 million settlement. Yet his financial troubles persisted, leading him to file for bankruptcy in 1999. Saddled with medical bills, he took on a variety of odd jobs, from security guard stints to cameo appearances that leveraged his Diff'rent Strokes fame. When he died at just 42 years old in 2010, fans mourned a talent that had brought so much joy. His life underlined how child actors, especially those with substantial medical and legal hurdles, need robust support systems to navigate Hollywood's complexities. The curse of Diff'rent Strokes. In the realm of tabloid headlines, few captured the public's morbid curiosity like the so-called curse of Diff'rent Strokes. The tragic fates of Gary Coleman, Dana Plato, and Todd Bridges fueled a narrative that the show was haunted by misfortune. This label often overshadowed the real causes: exploitation of child stars, lack of guidance, and personal struggles that might happen to anyone under intense public scrutiny. While curse makes for a sensational headline, it glosses over the more human factors like poverty, physical health conditions, drug dependencies, and legal exploitation that shaped these actors' lives. Nonetheless, the notion of a curse remains tied to the show's pop culture legend, the steroid-focused finale. By the time Diff'rent Strokes wrapped in 1986 with its final episode, it couldn't resist one more very special storyline. Arnold investigates a steroid scandal at his school, shining a light on performance-enhancing drug abuse. Although it wasn't the comedic high note some fans might have hoped for, it did stay true to the show's established identity, a sitcom unafraid to confront tough, real-world issues. And with that socially conscious storyline, Diff'rent Strokes left the stage, giving a final nod to the complicated interplay of humor and serious reflection that characterized its 8-season run. And that's the wrap on our deep dive into Diff'rent Strokes. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, packed with iconic catchphrases, behind-the-scenes drama, and groundbreaking moments, make sure to let me know your favorite little-known fact in the comments. While you're there, don't forget to hit that like button if you learned something new. And of course, subscribe for more nostalgic TV breakdowns and pop culture curiosities. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, remember, Diff'rent Strokes really do move the world, especially when we share, connect, and keep the conversation going. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.